we're going to reconvene an open session in just a second here. I guess we'll go without Charles. Should we wait? All right, we're going to go ahead and continue on. We are now going to reconvene an open session. We are going to consider action on closed session items. Mrs. James.
Thank you, Mr. Burdine. I move that the Board of Trustees non-renew the term employment contract of Diane Wright for the 2018-19 school year and direct the superintendent to provide notice to Diane Wright of the board's action.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. James and a second by Mr. Rice. Do we have discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Mrs. Tossan, please vote by show of hand.
You need to do the sign letter hand sign for the first letter of, I'm just kidding.
Motion passes unanimously. Mrs. Drew. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be better. 'Cause
Mrs. Drew.
this means I don't know what, yes or no, both. Sorry.
It's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Burdine. I move that the Board of Trustees ratify the lawsuit filed in the 400th Judicial District Court of Fort Bend County in cause number 19 DCV 264215.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Drew and a second by Mr. Rice. Do we have discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Ms. Tossan? All right. Do we all vote? Motion passes unanimously. Are those all of our closed session items? All right. Moving on to board member reports. Mr. Rosenthal.
Yes, activity report for June through this meeting. Board Leadership Academy, Collaborative Communities, Fort Bend Education Foundation and graduation session, STEM Showcase, Grants Award Ceremony, Donor Reception, Meadows 45th Anniversary, Project Search Graduation, High School Graduations, Student Leadership Breakfast, Skeeters Baseball Game, 2019 Summer Leadership Institute, Mr. O.L. Kabenka Memorial Bench and Plaque Reveal, 2019 Top 25 Prime Subcontractors and Supplier Diversity Awards, Fort Bend Infrastructure Conference, Literacy Council of Fort Bend County's 2019 Practice Spelling Bee and Party with a Purpose, Greater Fort Bend Economic Development Council, Texas School Safety Center Annual Conference, Texas School Safety Center Board Meeting, Go Public Gulf Coast Annual Meeting, SHAC Meeting, Policy Committee Meeting, Fort Bend, what is this? FBCC, what is that? Fort Bend Chamber Conference. Oh, right. Fort Bend Chamber Conference Principal Appreciation Reception, Fort Bend Chamber State of Higher Education, TASB SLI and Post-Legislative Conference, Legislative Advisory Council Meeting, Press Conference for Sugarland 95 Memorial Project, Go Public Gulf Coast Steering Committee Meeting. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal. I actually misspoke. That's our board activity report. Did we have any board member reports?
Although I'm not a board member, I would ask the board special permission to recognize 2 members of our senior executive team that are leaving the district, and this will be their last meeting. Our Chief HR Officer, Kermit Spears, and our Chief Financial Officer, Stephen Bassett, have served, each of them, I think, right at 5.5 years in the district on this leadership team. I think we would all agree they have served, both of them, in an exemplary manner in regard to strategy around finance, strategy around HR and leadership development, and they're going to leave a huge void on the team and in our organization. But this is their last meeting, so I wanted to acknowledge them and express my personal and professional appreciation and offer them best wishes on behalf of me and the district as well.
Hear, hear.
Thank you, Dr. Dupree. I'd like to also say on behalf of the board, you are both valued, exemplary members of our team here in Fort Bend ISD, and both of you have contributed to our success. And we will miss you, and you will have somebody will have some big shoes to fill. So thank you for all that you've done, both of you. It means a lot to us and our students, of course. So, all right, we will now move to our consent agenda. May I have a motion?
Mr. Burdine, I'd like to remove item 10E4J and 10E5B from the consent agenda.
Can you say that second one again? I'm sorry. 10.
This 10E5B is the second one.
Okay.
And 10E4J is the first one.
All right.
Mr. Burdine, I move to approve the consent agenda in its entirety with the exception of the two items just pulled by Mrs. James.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rice and a second by Mrs. Haliger. Do we have discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Moving to 10E4J. Mrs. James?
I move that the Board of Trustees approve item 10E4J, the emergency call boxes, in an amount not to exceed $58,031 to fund 2 emergency call boxes at the James Reese Career and Technical Center as presented, and to fund the installation of 1 call box at Ferndale Henry DAEP. This action increases the original expenditure authorization amount to $910,811.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. James and a second by Mr. Rice. Do we have discussion, Mrs. James?
Thank you, Mr. Burdine. This is a little bit different than what was in our board book, but it's adding a call box at Ferndale Henry, and it wasn't in the original list. But I thought as a secondary campus, it was important to have a call box there.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to 10EJB, or is it 10E5B, excuse me.
Mr. Burdine, I move to approve 10E5B as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. James and a second by Mr. Rice. Do we have discussion, Mrs. James?
Yes, this is the schematic design for elementary school 52. And I have a question about the space, the pre-K space. And I don't know if we have do we have a slide or anything on this one?
We do, and the architects are here as well.
Okay, and I see there's some slides here anyway, so would they like to explain it?
Yes, we have Jennifer quickly, if you'll come up, please.
You make sure the microphone's on.
Hello.
There we go. Thank you.
Do you want me to go ahead and go through the whole presentation or just address the question?
I think the accelerated version, or at least if you could show a picture of the schematic, that would be great. I don't think we need a blow-by-blow, but I would like to see it.
Okay. So this elementary school number 52, is a repeat of Neal Elementary. So, but it's for 1,000 student capacity. This is the site plan. So as you can see, it's a very similar floor plan to Neal Elementary School and a very similar site plan as well. All of the spaces are pretty much laid out the same as Neal, with the administration in the front, the library as the core, and the 3 classroom wings. They're both all the classroom wings are 2-story, and then the adjacent cafeteria and gymnasium core there. One modification that we did change from Neil, from some lessons learned that we had, is combining the play area into one area instead of the two separate play areas that are at Neil Elementary School. All right, so this is the floor plan. Is it plugged in? Like you can see, the pink area in the middle is the administration. The dark blue in the very middle is the media center, and the classroom wings come off on each side. Thank you. So the pre-K area is right here. Very similar layout to it was at Neil Elementary School. We are aware of the transition that's happening with the full-day pre-K classes, and I think to answer your question, we are confident that with the opening of this new school that they will be able to provide, if you decide to, the pre-K program at the school based on the floor plan that we have right now. And we will continue to work with the pre-K team that is currently ongoing and the design and construction staff to just continue to develop the floor plan as they see fit.
Okay, so I'm looking at something that's very small print, and I really can't see that either, but it looks to me here like there's only one pre-K classroom. Is that true, or is that what is the situation, or
So currently our ed specs indicates that we have one pre-K classroom and we have one PPCD classroom. They are set up in the same configuration, so you can have two pre-K classrooms or one of each program if they choose not to put PPCD on the campus. To note, our kindergarten classrooms are of similar size and configuration as well. We do have restrooms that are located in each of the kindergarten classrooms. Being this is a campus of 1,000, that gives you a total capacity of rooms that could be used of up to 7.
okay, so there's 7 kindergarten.
8, I'm sorry, 8.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 7 on this. It looks like there's 7 labeled kinder, 1 labeled pre-K, 1 labeled PPCD. Okay. So I guess my question or my comment was, or concern was, that would we have, based on the full day, the need for full day, or for the need for full day pre-K and more of it, would we need more pre-K space? And if we're going to the effort to build a brand new school, have we done an audit of pre-K space, and are we certain that we don't need to add more at this point? Because just looking at this, it looks like there's grade level, equal number of classrooms per grade level with really not that much pre-K space. So that's just my observation.
Yeah, Ms. James, we had conversations earlier today with Ms. Dixon, and we're confident with the amount of space. I mean, the 8 classrooms for kindergarten, that provides the flexibility to administration to maneuver around whatever the enrollment is at that time, whether it be pre-K or kindergarten. Just like Ms. Dixon stated, the classrooms are the same. The specs are the same for the classrooms, so there's really no difference between a kindergarten and a pre-K classroom. So we feel confident we have the space.
All right. Please vote. Did everybody vote? Try again. Mrs. Tossan, did you push your button?
Yeah, I pushed it.
All right. All right. Please vote by show of hand. Motion passes unanimously. Having some technical difficulties. I wanted to, before we move on to reviewing our future board meeting agenda items, I was not respectful in asking Mrs. Tossan if she would like to make a few comments about two of our finest who are having their last board meeting with us. So, Mrs. Tossan?
Thank you, Mr. Verdeen. I feel sort of badly that I'm not there to say goodbye to Kermit and Steve, and so I just wanted to say publicly what an honor it has been to work with these two men as administrators in Fort Bend ISD, and I know that you will be greatly missed. In particular, I've had a lot of time to work with Steve because as chair of the audit committee and also in the last couple of legislative sessions being the legislative liaison, he has really been my right hand along with Veronica in a lot of ways. So I just wanted to say I was sad to hear it, but you will be an incredible asset. And I don't know how we're going to do the next legislative session without you, Steve. So anyway, thanks, Mr. Verdeen, for giving me the opportunity, and I wanted to thank these two men for their service.
Thank you, Mrs. Tossan. All right, moving along, Dr. Dupree.
Next meeting we're going to have is August 5th, a team building. And then on the regular meeting in August, we will not have a workshop, just one called meeting, a regular meeting where we'll have some recognitions. The big items on that are going to be our 18-19 STAR performance and state accountability update on August 12th, and that would be the Monday before school starts. We'll also have a strategic plan update and a student code of conduct for your approval, as well as approval of the high school 12 schematic design.
Thank you, Dr. Dupree. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Meeting is adjourned.